Mango flowering manipulation is a whole year process. It starts from when you take the crop off at the end of the year that you've got to prune. Flower manipulation can help you spread your crop. The use of potassium nitrate will help spread your crop. It will also make the flushing more even and enable you to get a greater proportion of your orchard flowering early, which means you can target that early season market which has got high prices for your crop. I think it's good for Darwin growers in particular, but I think using the potassium nitrate to synchronise your flowering makes it much easier to get a uniform product at the end, so you don't have a mixture of maturities. The key points is to manage the leaves. The leaves are the powerhouse of your orchard. They need to be managed all year round. You manage it by pruning a tree early, getting the trees to flush. Paclobutrazole can be applied to the roots at the time of pruning to limit the amount of vegetative growth that comes back, and manage those leaves over the wet. You need to be monitoring those leaves the whole time. Protecting that is actually one of the most critical stages of getting early flowering going forward. Minimise or prevent vegetative flushes during the warm conditions at the end of the wet in March, April, so that the energy isn't wasted and you have old leaves to respond to the low temperature conditions. It's the old leaves, they need to be months old rather than days old, which are responsive to the low temperature condition. So by the end of the wet you want the tree, the vegetative flushing completed and the leaves aging, so becoming harder and crunchier, so that they're really crunchy to the sound, so that when they make a crunching noise when you squeeze them, and that they recurve back up the branch at the stage when they're ready to flower. So you can see all these leaves are pushing back up the branch, so that they're pushing back down the branch, and at that stage that's when they're most likely to be able to respond to the inductive chemicals such as potassium nitrate to trigger flowering. If you do get a vegetative flush prematurely before you got the cold weather, you can manually prune it off, or there are chemical ways to do it, but it's by far the best if you don't have to use that. Step 2 is obviously you don't irrigate during the wet. You can restrict your water allocation, but you need to maintain the water up to your trees all the time. But as you come into the dry, you need to maintain that water irrigation up to the trees, so that when you do want the trees to grow, they will grow. Step 3 is to keep an eye on the weather conditions, watching the weather maps to see when we're going to get a high pressure in the lower parts of Australia, and they generate winds which are pulling the cold air from Antarctica basically and bringing it up to northern Australia. You can see that cold weather coming, so when those highs are off the coast of Western Australia, the cold weather will start 4 to 5 days later in the Northern Territory. To make your trees grow at that time, you can turn the irrigation on, and you can prime the tree by spraying with potassium nitrate, which helps breaks the apical buds on the trees and gets them growing. And with careful management you can get a coincidence of growth and cold weather at the same time, because it's during that early stages when the buds are only millimetres long, up to about 2 centimetres long, when the plant undergoes the process of floral induction. That's the process of where the buds change from vegetative to floral. And that's the critical point at that stage, when the buds will respond to cold conditions. You do get your flowers developing. Give them a bit of trace elements to make sure that they're going to be not short on boron and other nutrients, particularly when the trees are in flowering, so that they will be successful in setting fruit.